All right, let's jump right into a question that sounds like it's from a Hollywood movie, but it's actually rooted in some serious strategic thinking. The question is, will the US actually survive a World War III? The answer might really surprise you. So think about it. If a massive global conflict broke out, where's the first place you'd think of as safe? For most of us, right, the gut answer is the United States. It's a superpower, a fortress. But what if that's totally wrong? What if that assumption is the biggest mistake you could make?
Yeah, you heard that right. The very thing that we think makes the US so safe could actually be its biggest weakness. And that one idea, it completely flips the script on everything we thought we knew about survival in a modern war.
Okay, so let's really unpack this idea, this myth of the American fortress, the belief that it's just this impenetrable safe zone. It's an idea that's been built up for decades, right? Based on all its military and economic power. It's a really compelling story. But is that all it is? Just a story? And look, this myth is built on some seriously impressive foundations. I mean, you've got US military bases all over the globe projecting power everywhere. You have the strongest navy on the planet, hands down, controlling the oceans. And then, hiding under the waves, you've got this silent fleet of nuclear subs, which is basically the ultimate insurance policy. So on paper, yeah, it looks totally invincible. But here's the flip side. What if all that strength, what if it's not a shield, but a magnet? This is where the reality gets a little scary. Because in this version of the story, the US isn't a fortress to hide in. No, it's the #1 target on the entire map.
And the logic, when you think about it, is pretty simple and kind of brutal. In any war, what do you take out first? You go for the head, the command center? You take the most powerful piece off the chessboard. See, being a superpower doesn't mean you get a free pass. It means you are the main event. For any enemy, taking out the US isn't just on the to-do list, it's job #1.
And this isn't just some vague threat either. We're talking about very real, very specific places. Think about it. New York, Washington, D.C., San Francisco. These aren't just cities full of people, they're symbols. You hit New York, you're attacking the world's financial heart. You hit D.C., you're trying to cut the head off the snake. A strike on San Francisco? That's a direct shot at the tech and innovation that powers so much of the country. Hitting any of them? Well, that's about causing the most damage possible, not just physically, but psychologically. Okay, so if having the biggest military doesn't make you safe, then what does? This is where we get into the new rules for survival. And it means you have to look at the world map in a totally different way and really ask yourself, what does safe even mean anymore? And this really gets to the heart of it. The old way of thinking, it was all about safety through strength, using your military might to keep threats far away. But the new strategy, it's about safety through something you can't just build or buy. It's about geography. It's about being in a place that's so remote, so strategically boring, that you just don't even show up on an enemy's radar.
And this is where the story gets really interesting. Because if the new name of the game is geography, well, then the safest places aren't the big cities or the military bases. They're somewhere else entirely. So let's take a look at where you might actually be safe inside the US.
Because, yeah, the answer is probably not what you're thinking. It's not the fortified bunkers or the major cities. So where are these places? Well, think about Alaska. Its biggest strength is just how incredibly remote it is. Low population, huge distances. It's just not a high priority target. Then you've got places like Montana or states deep in the Midwest. Their safety comes from being, well, in the middle of nowhere. They're buffered by thousands of miles of land from any coastal attack. They're far away from the big targets we talked about earlier. And here's a really crucial point. In a nuclear exchange, they might be shielded from the worst of the radioactive fallout, which tends to blow from west to east. So you see, in this kind of scenario, your best asset isn't a tank. It's just being far, far away from the chaos. So that's the bottom line. The whole equation for survival gets turned completely upside down. The military power that was supposed to be your shield, it actually just paints a giant target on your back. And what really keeps you safe is geography. being in the right or maybe the most forgotten place on the map.
And that brings us to the final thought, the one we want to leave you with. If you pull up a map and you stop looking at it in terms of power and start looking at it in terms of geography, where does that leave you? Is your state on the survival map? Kind of makes you think, doesn't it?